Hi there. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable. We are the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. And tonight, we are not only blending the love of music with the love of whiskey, we are blending that with the love of the movies. So we're going to be talking about whiskey in the movies, and we're going to be talking about music, soundtracks, and scores. So we'll get into all of that in just one moment. But first of all, with me, as always, my good friend Drew Crowley. What's up,
Hey,
Drew?
gang. Hey, not a whole lot. Just kind of relaxing today. We brought home a new puppy this weekend, so been trying to get him acquainted and hey, quit biting that shit, stop eating that, go over there, not in here, all that fun stuff. So it's been pretty good weekend just at home.
Mm-hmm. Well, my son and daughter-in-law brought home a new baby. So
Yeah, that's way cooler.
Yeah.
Way cooler.
not
same conversation, right? Stop biting that.
Yes. I was pushing for a Dio, as the name, but that did not pass. It did not pass. But enough of that. We have some guests here. We need to make sure we welcome them. Our two friends from my whiskey den, Mike and Patrick. What's up, guys?
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, how are you guys doing? I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited that you're here. You're excited. Never mind.
This is a path we could go down, but no. No, I used to work at a video store, kind of like Jay from Clerks. So,
so was there a section on the shelf that was Patrick's picks?
In the back.
Adult section.
No. We didn't have a door. There was like a little side section over there that was like that, but no. We didn't have a section that was Patrick's picks, but we would line up underneath like where they went alphabetically and be like, like slide it there. But there wasn't like, I'm not moving like 50 of them over to one little section for just me. Just go slap your name on a movie lineup and be like, this is this week's winner.
Yeah. All right. Well,
which is always better when it doesn't agree with someone and you get into an argument about it.
See, that's a career that no one will ever have again.
I know, it's sad.
Right.
I left it willingly because obviously it doesn't pay very well. But
yeah,
it is a nice pastime while you're just hanging out and doing stuff.
Not to sidetrack the conversation entirely, but have you guys watched that HBO documentary, The Last Blockbuster?
Most of
no.
it.
Oh man, it's good. Very, very worth the time if you get into that.
Yeah, and nostalgic. If you were in that section, like there were points you're like, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going there and like it was like a Friday or Saturday night like event. Like you're gonna get your movie and a game, and mom and dad are gonna get their movie, and we'll see you later tonight. You're gonna split up and do your own things in the house.
Yeah. Hey, and Mike, who is just off of a birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I should have had cake. I should have had cake for you. I should have jumped out of a cake for you. That would have been even better.
With just your bourbon turntable sash, and that's
it. Strategically placed, yes.
That's right.
Oh man. All right. So Mike, you've got a role on our show every week, even when you're not physically here. So
yes.
So I'm going to give you the opportunity to do this for us.
All right.
Go.
All right. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification to find out when new episodes come out, which is every Wednesdays on all of your streaming services everywhere. Apple, Spotify, whatever other ones there are, and the YouTube where you can watch the live recording itself.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Mike's done. So, all right.
See ya.
He'll log off now.
Your check's in the mail. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. So, like I said, we're talking about whiskey in the movies, and there are a lot of different movies that have some significant whiskey moments. And so tonight we've each picked one, and we're going to talk a little bit about the movie and about that movie scene, and what you're drinking to go along with that. So, I'll tell you what, let's start with you, Patrick.
Okay.
You're the movie expert.
Well, there's a lot. There was a couple of them that you can go with, and I didn't want to go with something that was really obvious. And I was ping-ponging between just, I wanted to say John Wick, but no, Constantine and Artbag 10, just because he so easily picks it up and drinks it like nothing, which a lot of people can do and I can do, but it will turn a lot of faces if you're not prepared for what you're drinking. But I didn't go that route. I went with the movie Glory Days, and I wouldn't say it's the whole movie. It's towards the end of the movie. What happens is there's 5 or 6 friends that are all living in a house, and it comes to the end of a year where a couple of them are graduating. One's going to go do something else. Everyone looks like they're going to go their own ways. They kind of talk each other into staying together. Like, hey, we'll stay one more year. We'll hang out. And by, let's say, 4 days later, they've all come to the conclusion that, no, that's not really going to happen. Like, that was all, a good gusto for thinking it was. But in reality, it's not. So at the tail end, it is kind of a punk movie. They get into, they start breaking stuff. Like, one of them ends up breaking a toaster, and one ends up breaking his grandmother's mug. But he gets into the description of how it's preservation through destruction. I don't have to worry about any of you syphilitic swine putting their lips on my Nona's mug anymore. I don't have to worry. I don't have to worry about that image anymore. Like, it's gone. But it was kind of like cement, and then it kind of broke out into maybe breaking a few things in the house that they should not have done. But at the end, they're around a bar that they had built and put together, and pictures of the couple years they had spent together. And they end up pouring a shot of Jack. And they go over a couple of memories that they had at the house before they end up, smashing the bar that they had put so much time into making everything so that no one else could have that memory. And I just liked it because, I understood it's kind of like a Viking funeral to some extent. You can give it a send off, but I don't want anyone else to touch this fantastic time. And I think at the end of the movie, they said at one point, it's too bad you don't throw yourself into love and friendships the way you do before you get hurt. And I'm like, there is a real serious point to that. Is like you make certain friends, and you can tell that they're going to make a big impact on you. And you don't usually let them go. But it is, sometimes it's hard to tell where that is and, when the line is. But I don't know. That was one just like that moment of like having to realize it was a changing moment in everyone's lives, and you had to go a different direction. And it sucks. But, you're going to miss everyone, and you let it go at that point. So I don't know. That's just it for me. And yeah, and a little bit of the destruction thing at maybe one point in my earlier, more punkish life had a little more effect on me. And it was a good soundtrack if you were into that stuff. So didn't make any lists here tonight for later on, but not a bad soundtrack as well. But yeah, the Jack at the end, because it was very college. I mean, that or Wild Turkey was pretty much at everyone's party. You weren't going to get someone bringing something too fancy after that. So it just reminded me the end of a night of a party and saying goodbye to people in the right way, maybe for in your 20s. Not now. I'm not going to wreck Kevin's house next time I'm over there or anything. Don't worry.
Thank you. Now this came out in 95, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so would this have been during the era when you were working in the video store, or would this been after that?
You are correct. This would have been in the era when I was working in the video store. It was one that popped out because at the time it had Ben Affleck, Sam Rockwell, Alyssa Milano, Matthew McConaughey made an appearance. There's like 3 or 4 other people. Spalding Gray was in it. Just a random bunch of people, and we're like another movie where like 4 or 5 people actually made it. And if you saw Matthew McConaughey's performance, you would not think so. It is hysterically bad, just like fantastically awful. But I'm like, that's another one. That's why I like those ones. Like, you see the ones where you're like, who would make this? And you're like, well, all these people were in it. There's a lot of weird launching parts, launching boards that people are a part of, and it's like that seems to be one of the movies. Or there's 2 or 3 you can seem like that. Like, I don't want to mention for someone else, but like Dazed and Confused. That's another one where there's a lot of people that all came out of it, and it wasn't just a little movie. It was a lot of unknowns, but hell, like 6, 7, 8 people all went on to have a really nice career. That's rarely happens.
Yep. Have either of you, Mike, Drew, seen Glory Days?
I have not.
Probably not.
I have not.
I have not either.
It came out the year I was born.
It's very hidden.
Well, there you go.
I think the image of that weird Van Dyke thing that Ben Affleck's got going on might have turned me off from watching it.
That part's not attractive.
What is this? It's like a young Colonel Sanders or something.
Yeah, well, he grew up and married J-Lo, so.
Well, okay.
He looks like he's trying to be a poet.
And I should know there's an older actor in it that I don't know his name. He played the dwarf in The Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Pete. Oh, no. Sorry.
I don't know, but I know he's in it as well, too. And
John Rhys Davies.
Yeah, he's in it.
Yeah.
He plays an older professor.
Spoiler alert, Pat. He's not a real dwarf. Well,
you see. You got to see. They still use angles on this movie, too. Like... He plays a unique character in the end. It's pretty funny. Oh. It's a unique professor. How about that?
I have my own issues with Ben Affleck, and
I understand. What? I didn't say I liked it because of him. I just said he was in it. Right. It's one of those ones that.
Okay, but
sorry, that complexity's jumping on me.
Yeah, it'll get you. He cheated on Jennifer Garner, America's Sweetheart. That tells me everything you need to know about Ben Affleck. I have no use for the man. So
he proposed to J-Lo twice, for God's sakes. He's given her more rings than the Dallas Cowboys have in like 30 years.
Okay. All right. We're degrading a little bit.
Sorry.
Right off the bat. So let's talk about Goodfellas.
Oh man, classic movie. I mean, we all love it. But I picked the scene where Tommy asks for a Cutty Sark at the bar and is ignored, and then I believe immediately, no, he gives him a warning shot first, and then blows the waiter's foot off. Spider, I think, is the kid's name, and once again proving that firearms and alcohol should not mix, but they make for some great entertainment from time to time. That was one of the first movies that I fell in love with enough to watch over and over and over again. I still cannot get my girlfriend to watch it with me. She won't do it, but we'll keep on trying. Well, I love that one, and could not bring myself to drink Cutty Sark. You know how everybody has that one drink that they lose in college? Yeah. That was me with Cutty Sark. So I am instead finishing off a Peerless Rye pick from one of our favorite bars here in town, Trouble, over in the Germantown area. So maybe hint at a future guest as well. It's 111.3 proof, and it is 3.5 years old. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and Goodfellas, you talk about a cast, De Niro, recently deceased Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci. Yeah. So quite the gangster trio there.
Yeah.
Also a fantastic soundtrack. Not to steal anything away from later conversation, but yeah.
Okay. Well, we may have to revisit the soundtracks from some of these that we're talking about. I don't know that mine necessarily has a soundtrack that will make that much difference, but Goodfellas is it's a classic. And then we have Mike. What do you got
Yes,
going,
sir.
buddy?
Well, for those that don't know, that's from Quiet Man, John Ford movie from 1952, and that is Micheline O'Flynn right there. And that was one of the questions, and he was at the house of the Danahers and Mary Kate. He finally he was drunk when he got there, and his drunk is a great drunk. Nothing like a slurring, very Irish accent. But Mary Kate was like, "Well, would you care to have a little water with your whiskey?" She said real snottily, and he's like, "When I drink whiskey, I drink whiskey, and when I drink water, I drink water." And, but I've always
I think you
loved
do
that
it better
movie.
than him, actually. Yeah.
No, there's no way. There's no way. He's all. There's so much about the movie that I've always liked it, and it takes place in a house where people are drinking dark beer, as they refer to it, and then there's the pub that they spend a lot of time in. A lot of beer gets spilt. A lot of whiskey is drank. You can't tell what whiskey that they're having. The beer, you can assume that it's Guinness, but it's funny. Yes, it's a little misogynistic, maybe more than a little misogynistic, but in real life, there's no way that I could imagine Maureen O'Hara, as stunningly lovely as that woman was, in real life, I would guarantee she would not take any crap off of anybody. So it was, but the back and forth between everybody is great. The story's, it's fairly good. John Wayne is John Wayne. He's not the greatest actor, but the cinematography is wonderful. It is funny. The music's lively, especially when they're doing the chasing and the over the fields. And I don't know the song, but it's the song's dun 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 dun, and just that whole part goes on forever. And the fight scene is wonderful. I absolutely love the movie. Every St. Patrick's Day, I have a pour of Irish and I watch The Quiet Man. And someday
great.
I will go do the Quiet Man tour.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a different kind of John Wayne movie.
Very much so. And what I always understood is that John Ford did it. Well, it's from I think it was Saturday Evening Post story originally, but John Ford, that was his love letter to Ireland, and that's why he wanted to do it. But it's shot. I mean, especially at the time that it was shot, it's shot beautifully. Just huge rolling hills, and I've been to Ireland, and it makes you miss it. It's just such a lovely place.
Yeah. It's a good one. Good choice. Mine is The Hustler. Paul Newman as Fast Eddie Felson. There is a famous scene where he is playing pool. He's in a pool hall with Minnesota Fats. Fast Eddie Felson is trying to work his way up in the ranks of billiards and gambling, and so he's playing against Minnesota Fats, and Minnesota Fats says, "Preach, go get me a bottle of JTS Brown, a glass, and some ice." And then Fast Eddie responds, "Preach, go get me a bottle of JTS Brown, no ice, no glass." So JTS Brown.
Nice.
Outstanding.
And it's a fantastic movie.
It's a fantastic $9.99 whiskey.
That is true also.
Yeah.
It probably cost about the same in 1961.
The only product that Heaven Hill hasn't tripled the price on in the last 3 years, maybe.
Hey, wait. I wonder if it's going to get a really good review from somebody, and all of a sudden, look what happened.
They say it's
whiskey of the year. Look at that.
Yeah.
Well,
Nope.
once this show comes out and Heaven Hill catches wind of it, one we might get sued, but two, they'll probably jump the price at least a nickel based on being featured in the show.
Yes.
So have you guys ever seen The Hustler?
Oh yeah.
I have. Yeah.
Really good movie. Enjoy that a lot.
Yeah.
Jackie Gleason is Minnesota Fats. Yeah. So
That's what I liked Gleason. I don't know.
Okay. Did you like A Color of Money, or The Color of Money, the so-called sequel?
The sequel, yeah.
Not as much. No.
No.
Sorry.
I mean, it was entertaining, I suppose. but it not the quality of film that the original was.
Would you agree? My issue with the movie, and there's a lot of them, that it follows. It is a Tom Cruise movie of that era, wherein if you take a lot of Tom Cruise's movies, they kind of all feel the same.
Yeah. Cocktail, Risky Business.
He always he has his downfall. He's an up and comer. He's got to overcome something. He's got to succeed in the end.
Yeah.
That was a lot of the 80s, though. And just
sure.
plot line. Sorry.
A fun fact: Color of Money, directed by Martin Scorsese.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little connection from one of the other films we talked about already. But it was okay. It was okay. IMDb rating on that one is 7, which is surprising. All right.
See,
well, maybe I'll need to go back and watch it again.
See, sometimes I think there's since it's ratings from different eras, I think maybe it's skewed at points.
Yeah.
Like there's, I don't want to say that. I mean, but there is a different appreciation from something when you were there, and because some movies don't age as well over time.
Sure.
But like if you're there, like this thing was awesome. You have no idea, and you watch it again, you're like, a little bit. It's still hysterical, but you're like, yeah, that's never being made now. Like that's in today's climate, that's never going to be made again.
Yeah.
So when you think about this, whiskey in the movies, what are some other movies that have a big whiskey influence in them?
Let's see here.
I don't know if I couldn't say influence, but one of them that it plays a part in the psychological thing that's going on. But Jack Daniels in The Shining.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
Yep.
You had mentioned John Wick, not again influential, but prominently featured. Yeah.
But all the spirits in there, actually, there's something featured about them. The way that they would shoot it to where you hit the lighting of the bottle, because there's it's either a mezcal or a tequila that in Aurelio's car shop. There's that one that's shot a certain way, and then there's the way the Blanton's bottle is picked up when he's doing that, and even in the sequels when he's at the bar, they shoot that it's a certain way. They don't. I mean, it's Blanton's because it's the bottle of it, but it's just the way that they shot it. It's like this. There's a reason this is here.
Right.
I thought, plus, he's going to kick someone's butt.
There's the scene in one of the Daniel Craig James Bond movies where
Skyfall.
Yeah, it's the first one where he doesn't do the martini. And I remember that being kind of a breaking with tradition there.
They paid a lot of money for that.
It was McAllen.
McAllen.
Yeah.
They've got the money.
Yep.
Yes.
Lost in Translation.
Yep.
Suntory.
Yep.
It's very good, and that's pretty big in that one.
Bill Murray movie. Yes.
And both Blade Runners. And I credit them for actually releasing something with the movie that makes sense. I hate when they don't take advantage of that, or companies don't. And I'm like, well done. I mean, I think the whiskey was much better than the standard release, but just I don't know. I hate when they don't do that. I mean, it's going to be a essential part of a movie. You knew it. Maybe you paid for it. Release something with it. I mean, it's not from them. It's not going to be overly priced. I mean, if you're going to spend an extra $5 or $6, your average person that likes it is going to buy it on the shelf. Like, oh, cool! I want the Blade Runner edition.
Yeah,
And if you want to go super great or make it like a Sinatra at some release, then it's worth being coveted at that level too. You know,
there was a Johnny Walker Black that was Blade Runner 2049 special release.
Yeah, it's a cool looking bottle.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind having that bottle. I don't really care about getting the whiskey, but
yeah.
And I've got, which I'm waiting to do this, but the Kingsman Golden Circle, with their Statesman, and I'm waiting. I've got that sample of Statesman, but I want to watch that movie and drink that Statesman with it, just because I think it would it might help some of that movie.
Yeah, I was going to say you might want to have 3 or 4 other whiskeys before the Statesman to make that one
At least
enjoyable.
at this point, I know the parts that are just
Mhm.
dumb, so I could just I could do my thing. But yeah, I'll still watch it.
So Drew, you're our resident Old Forester expert.
Sure.
Statesman.
It's a miss for my palate. I'll say that. There's a reason why it didn't make the product line after about, I think they did 3 runs of it. And then I don't know if it just didn't move or if that was always the intent. I wasn't privy to those kind of marketing meetings. It is, if you enjoy the wood influence, it's probably the Old Forester for you. It has the most oak influence of any of their stuff. So, Kevin, you and I's mutual friend Jared would probably love it.
Yep.
It is pretty one note for me. Yeah. I'll say that nicely.
There's also Anchorman.
That was on the list too.
Yep.
Inglorious Bastards.
What's that?
I think in Inglorious Bastards.
Yep.
I think they drink like a 33-year-old or a 30-year-old scotch in that one.
Yeah.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Going a little bit further back, in the Hitchcock film North by Northwest, Cary Grant's character is forced to drink alcohol, and they get him drunk on whiskey and to just try to set him up. I won't spoil the movie for you if you've not seen it because it's a twist-filled film, so highly recommend it. But that was a very important scene in the movie and something that was very memorable as well.
What about I don't know what they're drinking. Is it whiskey in Raiders of the Lost Ark where Marianne is drinking people under the table?
Rumored
or is
to
it
be
something
so,
else?
but they don't really say.
Yeah, they don't say. That was a missed opportunity.
I'm sure it's got to be something like homemade, like a homemade spirit for up in the
Yeah.
Yes.
One of these days
yeah.
we'll all have to go out to French Lick and try to do our own version of that with Alan's stuff.
we should let's do that. We should totally do that.
I have some apple brandy right now that I'm trying, and at 145 proof, I think it qualifies. We can use this.
Yeah.
Will not last long. Will not last long.
Has-
We'll start with half shots.
Yeah. One other movie I thought of just because they have whiskey a lot in it. They don't. There's not a brand or label prominent, but Silverado. Because there's a lot of bar scenes on there, but early on in the movie, and Danny Glover comes in there, and he has to say repeatedly because he's trying to be a peaceful man. It's like, I haven't slept on a bed or had a drink of whiskey in 10 days. And he said, and he had to keep saying that, and then someone had to start something with him, and he's like, then finally he just has that joy when he just gets to have that one little bit of whiskey. And anyway, I always liked that scene, and a good movie too.
Yeah, excellent movie.
Yeah,
Excellent movie.
yeah.
All right. So let's we've covered a lot of different films for folks. Some you may have some others that you thought of as you're listening to this. Be sure to list that in the comment, and we'll take note of that for the future. Maybe we'll do this some other time. But let's have a little toast to whiskey and the movies.
Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
In all seriousness, this is so freaking underrated. It's not even funny.
Yeah, agreed.
So,
Don't let Fred hear you.
I'll put on an ascot and call it Whiskey of the Year, and then we'll see what happens. So that.
Oh yeah, there's our next gag. When we do our Whiskey of the Year show, we'll have a certain fashion choices represented strongly.
Oh my goodness.
If you guys just want to get views, just have the thumbnail for the show. Most underrated whiskey? Question mark, really big letters. Have nothing to do with anything else.
Yes.
Of this year.
Yes.
Of this show. All right, so we're going to wrap up side A of the show here, and going to talk about some movie soundtracks here in just a second. But first, we want to give these guys a chance to talk about their show, My Whiskey Den.
Well,
not all at once now.
No, I didn't know. Mike's voice is so good. It's hard to just. I was gonna let him go, but I just.
All right. My Whiskey Den was started by a small man in Green Bay, Wisconsin, many years ago. But no, My Whiskey Den focuses. It does not strictly adhere to, but does focus on craft whiskey, American craft whiskey, and trying to get people out to go and stop standing in line for these other things. Stop hunting for these other things. Look at craft whiskeys. There are some severely underrated craft whiskeys and craft non-distilling producers that are doing things that cannot be done on a large scale. And a lot of them are truly eye-opening, amazing whiskeys. And they're great people to talk to, which is probably 51% great people to talk to, 49% making pretty good whiskey. So,
and we have a show on, and we have a show on Monday night called An Evening With, where we bring on distillers or other people in the industry so that they can peel back the curtain on what they do. You can still help to understand how they made some of the great product we're talking about once you get a chance to taste it, and learn a little bit more about the craft whiskey world, which I know some people get a little iffy on the word, but I like it because it's displaying someone doing an actual unique craft rather than just talking about the actual amount and volume, which is what some people get hung up on. It was really meant to describe people being able to create and innovate on a smaller scale that you wouldn't be able to on a bigger scale. And we try to focus on people doing that, or, using unique grains, using unique yeast. Let me tell you, that's a hard one to get people to explain. They is what they're technically using. That's probably the most proprietary, sealed up, buttoned up thing there is yeast. All of a sudden, everyone shuts down.
Everybody wants to tell you it doesn't matter until you ask them what yeast they use, and then they won't tell you. So, what does that tell you?
Yes.
But no, we want to just help people get focused on some of the smaller, more local places that are doing unique stuff. Like Mike said, it's not always about it being whiskey. Sometimes you live in like Wisconsin. We live in a place where it's brandy and a couple other things, or maybe they just do like a cherry bounce, which is pretty standard. But if someone makes it really good, it's damn tasty, and can change a few evenings or holiday weekends. But yeah, just people doing unique stuff throughout the country that really should be getting the nod before they do. There's not enough people on the smaller scale that are producing great whiskeys at a great level that are getting the type of recognition like Iron Root is, and deservedly so. But they're in total agreement with that. When we use people as a benchmark for craft whiskey, they're one of them, because I can send you to them, and you're not gonna have a bad whiskey.
Right.
Like, I'm just here, whatever, you're fine. Now, you may have something that is great and fantastic, but you're not going to have anything bad. And for that to be in a lineup, and for any place to say that, that's a pretty difficult thing. So we want to shed the light on people doing great stuff, man.
Yep.
Don't let those people fade.
Yeah, and it is a fantastic show. Monday nights, 9:00 Eastern time. So be sure to tune in. Remind yourself to do that. Along with our show, My Whiskey Den is a part of the Bar Cart Co-op, along with the Distiller's Talk. So we're honored to be aligned with these guys and their show, and honored to have them as friends. So,
yeah.
And John Wick, stop standing in line for Blanton's. Watch My Whiskey Den.
Oh, yeah.
And find out.
I don't think he stands in line for anything.
No, I think they drop a bottle off.
Yeah.
All right.
Who knows what he's fixed before?
We're going to talk about movie soundtracks now, and each of us have made a little list, and at this point, we don't know what the other's list is, so we might end up all having the same movies. But we're going to talk about soundtracks. We're going to talk about composers, and obviously, as we're going through this list, if you in the audience have some thoughts on this, please leave that in the comments because I'd love to see what you have to say. But let's start with Mike. Mike, what's your first one?
This is it's really hard because there's a lot of great soundtracks on there, but one of them, which also goes along with the director and stuff, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. When I first watched this movie, I'm like, what is this? And it's like, what is going on with this music? And so I looked it up and I'm like, Portuguese Bowie. Those should be the only two words that you need to know. Portuguese Bowie. And it is killer. The movie's great. And he's fantastic about doing soundtracks, but, or putting, right soundtrack with his movie. But yeah, Life Aquatic with it hits the mood, hits everything just right. Yeah, look at guys. Is his name Serge Jorge? I'm trying to remember what his name is. The guy that is doing all the singing. But anyway, it's fantastic. It's a fun movie.
Cool, great. Yeah, been a long time since I've seen that.
Yeah, it's sad to see what ones kind of slip past you until someone else mentions it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Poor choice.
All right. So Patrick, you're our other guest here. What's on your first one on your list?
Well, I'll take the softball pitch on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go with Dazed and Confused as a simple soundtrack that drove the movie, made it better, and was good enough to have a second soundtrack that didn't suck. And that's very rare that any movie would release the second soundtrack, let alone not have it be bad.
Right.
So that's an easy softball one. Like I said, I have a list because a couple of them I thought were kind of easy, like that one.
There we go.
But I mean, yeah, and half of those now are associated with summer or the beginning of summer for me because of this movie. It's mental association, but I mean, it's like, oh, it's summertime, sweet. Of course, it gets that way when it's so cold in Wisconsin all the time. What were you gonna say, Mike? I don't want to stop.
I'd say it's summertime. Trying to break out your white pants.
No one can. No one can resist Dwight Goodman in his shiny shoes.
That's right.
He had white pants on too when he did that.
All right. So what were some of the songs that were on the Dazed and Confused soundtrack?
Holy cow! The first one or the second one? I think it was rock and roll hoochie coo. Hold on here.
Yep. Rock and roll hoochie coo, slow ride, and the very underrated Cherry Bomb by the Runaways.
Yes, I was gonna say Cherry Bomb was great.
I love that song.
School's out for summer.
Yep.
Stranglehold, which from Ted Nugent.
Yep.
I'm cheating now. Love Hurts, Slow Ride,
Nazareth.
Yep.
Jim Dandy, Paranoid by Black Sabbath, and Tuesday's Gone.
Yep.
Oh, and Fox on the Run.
Oh yeah.
I thought they did a good job of encapsulating the music of the time frame for the movie. I was like, damn, you hit what was playing on the radio, man. That was nice job on that. And I have no idea what was on the second one, but rare that you get a second one and it's like, oh, actually, you know what? These are all pretty decent too. So that would be my first one, but that's kind of an easy lob for me.
Oh, but it's a good one, and we need to make sure that we get the low-hanging fruit in here as well. So
it's hard to turn away from that one. There's 2 or 3 other easy ones like that, but I think I'll let everyone go. Like we said, we might overlap on some of this stuff. So
sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Drew, what do you?
All right, so I'm just gonna go with my favorite, This is tough because score and soundtrack exist in different categories in my mind. So we're not
Sure.
talking, you know, the Star Wars and, you know,
Right.
some of these amazing iconic scores. But my favorite was the 2001 film Almost Famous. So
It's on mine.
just
Yep.
slam dunk all the way around. Great movie. You know, if you haven't seen it, highly recommend going and watching it. But you've got Zeppelin, you've got Skinner, you've got Elton John, you've got Cat Stevens, you got so many great songs on there, and just such a freaking fun movie. So,
Yeah. I agree. I agree so much that I'm going to use my first pick for that as well.
sorry to step on your toes there, my friend.
No, that's quite all right. That's quite all right. It's classic Cameron Crowe. Okay, all of his films rely heavily on music. This one probably more than any of them.
I just loved how, besides that, it tried to show you like kind of a little bit what happens behind the scenes with stuff. Like, I mean, for most people, it didn't pull back the curtain horribly far, but it was a nice movie about it, and about being a critic. I mean, that's just honest. I mean, be merciless with people. If you're gonna be a critic and be honest, if something's not good, say, "Hey, man, this isn't good." You don't have to be mean about it, but you know, be honest about it. Even if you are friends with people, which I tell Alan all the time to stop using anise and stuff, and he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen to me when I say that.
One story about Almost Famous and the Led Zeppelin tie-in. Cameron Crowe was lobbying to get Led Zeppelin music permission to use Led Zeppelin music in the film and include something on the soundtrack. And he was able to get Robert Plant and Jimmy Page to do a showing of the film, obviously before the release, but do a showing of the film in a private theater. And the story that Cameron Crowe tells is they sat there, they watched the movie, and they get to the end, and Robert Plant says, "Okay, that sounds like fun. Thanks for showing us your movie," and he leaves. And he's like, "Oh crap, they hate it." And then Jimmy Page says, "Let's walk across the street and we'll have a drink." And he said, "Okay, really like the film. You can use any Led Zeppelin song you want except for Stairway, and you can use one of the songs on the soundtrack itself." So there were actually 5 Led Zeppelin songs in the movie. Only one song called "That's the Way" was on the soundtrack. But Almost Famous has 51 different songs in the film. Now there's only maybe a fourth of that on the soundtrack, but it just shows how heavily Cameron Crowe relies on music, songs, rock music to set the tone of his films. So, yeah. So long story short, Almost Famous is fantastic. If you've not seen it, you need to make a point to see it. Kate Hudson, Billy Crudup, Jason Lee. My Name is Earl is the lead singer of Stillwater. So, okay. So let's circle back to Mike. What else, buddy?
All right. One of my other, just from the time I first saw the movie and I heard and got the soundtrack right away, soundtrack for Pump Up the Volume of Christian Slater. I mean, it's Ivan Neville, Concrete Blonde, Pixies, Bad Brains, Soundgarden, Cowboy Junkies. I mean, it's great. I mean, and it's music of that era, but it's all really good. And I've just I hadn't listened to that for a really long time. When we're talking soundtracks, I went through my CDs, of which I have a lot of soundtracks, and still have CDs that I have nothing to play them in. But no, that was one that brought back a lot of really good memories. That was the soundtrack probably helped the movie. It was kind of, it's a moody movie, but the music and the people that it's just great.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good one. Pat, what do you have?
All right. Up next, like I said, there was a couple different ways. I'm going to go into something where it's an actor who has had a couple movies that I feel like are driven by songs. And I'm going to go with John Cusack, because Grosse Point Blank and High Fidelity are both highly driven by music. I don't care if you say Grosse Point Blank's about something else, whatever bullshit. It's driven by music. It's written into it, and fantastic soundtracks to both of them. And I was gonna say it's neat when you see actors that love something and then try to pull that in or work that into what they can do, because they usually, they share the love that they have in there, like his anguish and pain and stuff, just going through relationships and bringing it out through music. Is like, yeah, we all know that. Wait, that's true. They're like, how could someone do that? Like, I did that just the one time. I only yelled at someone's window once, but it happened. We don't talk about that anymore.
Did you organize your albums autobiographically?
Not albums, but since movies, yes, I did it a few different ways, once or twice as my movies. Yeah, I did switch things up. Autobiographical is a very difficult way to do it, but it is really cool. It's really cool to be like, did I see E.T. first, or did it was Transformers? Where did it drop in? And then you start seeing trends that you had, and you're like, oof. I should could have turned my attention away from shit when I was 13. There, this was a section of bad movies,
bad movie choices.
Bad movie choices.
Yeah.
Yep. Drew.
All right. So I love the way that this director uses music in all of his films, but I'm going to go with Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh,
yeah. No notes, perfect soundtrack throughout the whole movie. You've got stuff from Deep Purple, who I really love and I think is underappreciated. Bob Seger. You've got Simon and Garfunkel in there in some of the kind of pivotal scenes, and hearing interviews with Tarantino about how he picks the music for the films and things like that. He did a real long interview. It was like 4 hours just talking about the things that he learned from and how it influences. But I love that he sticks with music that is mostly in the time period of the film that he's doing. Big fan of that movie and huge fan of that soundtrack.
So let's talk just a second, then kind of diverge for a minute and talk about Tarantino, because I think he's one of the guys that
Pulp Fiction was
you've got to look at, and I think Pulp Fiction is certainly one. It's got everything from Al Green to Kool and the Gang to Dusty Springfield to the Statler Brothers. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and surf music.
Surf music.
And surf music.
Yep.
I'll even lean at Jackie Brown if you're a Tarantino.
Jackie Brown.
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
That whole movie is one that like sets you in a mood. Like there's ones you're like, I feel like going to a lounge tonight and having like an old fashioned or a cocktail, but it has got to be dim lit. It's got to be the old style lounge.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's. But Tarantino's another one. I think he uses it a little differently than Cameron Crowe. But I think that the music definitely is a big major component in how they create, probably even write their films.
Yeah. Well, they're definitely using it to affect the scene, not just like background music. They're definitely using it to play a part in it. Like they're imposing feelings and emotions with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
One that I'll add in there is The Crow.
Mhm.
That's another
You've
one.
got-
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got The Cure, you've got Stone Temple Pilots, you got Rage Against the Machine, Nine Inch Nails. It is a pretty solid soundtrack in and of itself. Actually, the soundtrack's probably better than the movie, in my opinion. But yeah, that's a pretty strong soundtrack as well. Mike, let's come back to you again. What else you have?
Probably one of the oldest soundtracks that I remember listening to when I was a kid. Saw the movie. I don't know. I feel like I've seen it 100 times. Soundtrack to American Graffiti.
Yeah,
Probably, arguably. Well, I don't know if you'd say it's better than Star Wars, but what it did for setting the mood. What was it like to be a teenager in 1962, and just the movie's funny, but there's some serious stuff going on, with the characters and life choices. But there's a constant soundtrack from the DJ throughout the entire movie. And I couldn't remember how many tracks it was. And I looked it up, and it was like 40 some tracks on the soundtrack, because that's how many is in there. And I can remember, like, looking at some of the list, I was like, I can kind of remember, like where that was in some of the scenes, and just the, again, the humor in it. Yeah, it's a great movie, but that soundtrack, I mean, if you want to get someone who wasn't familiar with 50s and 60s music, put that soundtrack on. That'll get you going on there.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and a really good movie.
Yes,
I think the themes and the storylines in it, while it may be set back in 50s, it kind of still holds true today. So,
very much.
yeah. Patrick, what do you have, buddy? What else?
All right. These are ones that when I'll do another lob one. Forrest Gump.
Yep.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump soundtrack. Just great job picking stuff from every era. That is just, it's fun, good to listen to. Another one where it went double disc. Can't argue it. That was all good picks. Fantastic soundtrack. Like you said, it's all over the place on that one, which is nice.
Right.
They delved into a lot of different things. After
Is there
that, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, is there a song that's been used in movies more than Fortunate Son? Because I feel like that's in like 18 movies with the exact same helicopter coming over the rise shot. It's all the same thing.
You don't get
it has to be a war movie.
Yeah, well, it's like you have to pay for the panning shot, like you said. You don't get to pay for the movie. You have to take that shot too and use it. You don't get to use the song. It has to show up in the video or what you're doing.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off there, Patrick.
No, I don't care. That one, like I said, if you don't know, just look it up. It's worth having. People from certain generations would probably have every album that's on there, but it by itself, if you don't, is an awesome reflection of the times. At work, talking with someone at work, this is a different one because I didn't think so, but he brought it up, and I looking back at it, The Big Chill.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
I heard it through the grapevine. Good love and joy to the world. You make me feel like My Girl. I was gonna say, and there's like a couple other ones on here. I was like, you know what? Not bad. That was a pretty. I got like one or two more, so I don't want to take anything anywhere else. So I'll let someone else go again until you're out. But that was just the one I was not expecting, and I would look. You look it up, you're like, yep, not bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll say Saturday Night Fever.
That was another one.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic display of mostly the Bee Gees, although there's a few other things in there as well. But the Bee Gees are certainly the core of the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, and that movie. I mean, it captured what was going on in the 70s and the whole nightclub disco scene and everything. So. And I'm man enough to admit that I enjoy the Bee Gees. So
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with Bee Gees.
No, there's not that there's anything wrong with that. Yeah. All right, Mike. You have anything else? Let's go around one more time, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I've got so many of them, but one other one I was thinking about was the Matrix soundtrack.
Okay.
That time
Oh.
in the late 90s when that thing came out, but it's got Propeller Heads, Monster Magnet, Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson, Deftones, Rage Against the Machine, a bunch of bands like that, and a lot of them there's like a little more of a dance or techno mix to some of them, especially the Rob Zombies. It's just it's fun to listen to, and and Rammstein, which good angry German music.
Oof, that is a good one. That was another one like lying out there, just because like I enjoyed that one.
Yep, it's good.
Okay. Well, what else? What else you have?
The only other sleeper one I came up with was the Bodyguard.
Okay.
Just
Sure.
'cause
Bodyguard was on my list too. That's a great one.
Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and people arguing like it. I don't know if it is still now, but it was like the #1 selling soundtrack for like the absolute longest time. And then I love when people try to argue like, well, it was until here. I'm like, well, think about, how many less people and how much less they kept track of shit back then compared to now.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
they really dominated for the amount of, sales that there were then to be still on top now.
Sure.
I mean, not even taking the inflated prices into effect and stuff. Like, it's insane. So yeah, that was
how about Dolly Parton cranking up the cash register on that one too?
Yes, sir.
that was awesome, man. She was, yeah.
We're building another roller coaster at Dollywood.
That's right. Yeah, Dolly made out like a bandit on that.
Yeah. Well, it's well deserved. If anybody,
She does
deserves
nice things with her
Exactly.
money.
Yeah, she does.
She does very nice things with her money. Yes.
Another great one with Whitney. It's kind of a terrible movie, but the soundtrack's awesome. Is The Preacher's Wife with Denzel Washington and her. She's got a couple of great tunes on that one. I like that one. So tell me if this is cheating, because it's not a musical, but it's musically driven. The most recent Star is Born remake with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Sure.
I seriously thought about that one.
Her voice is unreal, but
she's-
Mark Ronson scored the movie, or he made the choices for it. You got songs by Jason Isbell, you got songs by the Dirty Feathers, you've got the classic La Vie en Rose. I mean, there's a lot of great music in that.
Yes, yeah,
that one.
Yep.
Yeah,
and I mean, props to Cooper, man. The dude,
yeah,
he went all in on that, and I got to give him a lot of credit on that. I mean, I didn't know what to think of it. I saw we saw that in the theater, but yeah, of course, Lady Gaga was Lady Gaga. So I mean, what are you gonna do? But man,
Hey, he rekindled that Last Person Since Val Kilmer to be like kind of that triple threat thing at a younger age. I was like, I haven't seen someone segue between this and this like that easily. Blues Brothers was another one.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Simple, easy.
There's a lot.
There is.
I got a huge list.
And I'll transition one thing real quick. Bradley Cooper was in Alias with Jennifer Garner.
Yep.
Okay.
That's right.
I won't miss an opportunity to talk about Jennifer Garner. Okay. So.
It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but it's just Jennifer Garner.
What excuse can I find to put Jennifer Garner on the screen?
Yeah. Okay. Every episode, you need to figure out some way to put Jennifer Garner in there.
I will take that challenge. All right. Now, so I know there's a lot of others out there, but the consensus #1 has to be this, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Purple Rain, Prince of the Revolution. Because you not only have that, you also have The Time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yes.
That's right.
And what is it? You got the Bird and the Jungle Love. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep. Jungle Love.
Jungle Love.
Stay in the Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've hit a lot of different soundtracks, okay? But I don't want to give I don't want to ignore composers in this, because
yeah.
I think that there are obviously some composers that well, the music, the score, soundtrack, whatever it is, it has a huge impact on the movie itself. Okay. And
Right.
if you look at the movies that we've listed out, if they didn't have the focus and the very intentional effort placed on the song choices and the soundtrack, the movie would not be as good. And can you imagine Star Wars without John Williams?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
Same
you
with
just-
the Indiana Jones series.
Right.
I love Harrison Ford, but those movies are kind of run of the mill without that score behind them that gets you kind of hyped up.
You hit the one that I was gonna say. As far as like American movie classics, I think you can't. He's the one you have to mention. He's been in so many movies that have impactful songs that left an impact on the whole universe at that time.
Right.
I mean, Indiana Jones, like you said, Star Wars. There's a whole list. I mean, I'm happy they actually gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award when he was alive, because I hate that they usually wait for someone to die. But I'm like, there are other composers doing well. But I mean, when you look at a 50-year run, he's influenced, the culture in general. And it's rare that you have a person that does that and is consistently making great stuff too. Like it's not a fuck up along the way. I miss people from that generation.
It's really interesting to see the relationships between directors and composers, with John Williams and Steven Spielberg, and then Chris Nolan and Hans Zimmer. You kind of have these two powerhouse couplings of, scores that go with these movies. I love seeing that and kind of coming back to it over and over again. I don't mean to cut you off, Kevin.
Tarantino uses.
Go ahead. No, what are you saying about Tarantino?
Oh, Tarantino uses is it Marconi or Marcone? Whoever he uses the Italian composer.
Yep.
For a lot of his. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
and his are fun too. I mean,
but you just going down, not to belabor the point, and I don't think we can, because it is John Williams, but E.T., Close Encounters,
Jurassic Park,
Harry Potter, Jurassic Park. So I mean, the list goes on and on. So it's tough to top him. And then Drew, I think you mentioned Hans Zimmer. He did, before he did a lot of Nolan films. He did Gladiator.
Movie too.
Danny Elfman works a lot with Tim Burton, so you kind of have that.
Yep. Like Mark Mothersbaugh with Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me toss one out there, and if we need to wind down, that's fine. But what do you guys think about this stuff with Lin-Manuel Miranda? He kind of had the Hamilton thing, but now he's scoring like every Pixar movie. He just had his In the Heights thing. I mean, he is everywhere with movie soundtracks right now. Seems.
Yeah.
Well,
I
do
mean,
you like it?
He's good. There's a reason that people give him the work. I mean, it's not like I don't think he's phoning anything in. I think he's just got a lot of talent. People are like, yeah, I mean, this is catchy and people like it, and he's good at it. I mean, he's good at it. Whether you like Hamilton, for its historical inaccuracies or whatever, it's pretty fun to listen to.
Yeah. You've got, I'm not a huge fan, but he's kind of the hot hand right now for Disney. So I think Disney's kind of ruined themselves, in my opinion. But that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Johansson and Dennis Villeneuve, Sicario. I think Arrival.
Yeah.
There's such a mood in those scores. It's just it gets you. It just gets you ramped up, and they're very dramatic intense films, and man, the scores on those.
Sicario especially.
Yeah,
It's like you hear that and you're like,
Wait.
some shit's going down. And then you realize this whole movie is shit's going down.
Okay, not to get too deep in the weeds, but the scene in Sicario where they're waiting to get back across the border, and you see all the cars coming in around them, and the music's just kind of building there, and then just the way everything is cut and who's looking at what, and who's looking at who, and it's just like, somebody shoot somebody before I explode.
So when you made the comment about Lin-Manuel Miranda, sorry, now I can't even talk. He did I don't know if you saw it, but on Curb Your Enthusiasm, he had a stint through several episodes on there, and he really spoofs himself. He's playing himself, but it's all about him being cocky and trying to get the upper hand and stuff. And then it's him and Larry, and you can imagine what a shit show that turns out to be. It's definitely worth looking up. He did it. I thought he did a really good job of making fun of himself and what people think of him.
Oh, that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
One other that I had, and it's kind of that same kind of connection between composer and director, is David Fincher and Trent Reznor. Social Network, Gone Girl. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 others, but that was I think when Fincher chose Reznor and Atticus Ross to do the score for Social Network, that was kind of met with, some raised eyebrows, but it's fantastic. I think it's really, really good. But
love it.
Have we missed anybody that if you don't mention them now, you won't be able to go to sleep tonight?
There's one that I'd say not a composer, but a music curator for a directing team. And that's the Coen brothers using T-Bone Burnett to curate the music for their soundtracks.
Yes. Great call, Mike.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because Coen brothers are genius, and so is T-Bone Burnett.
I was going to say, like, Big Lebowski could slide in.
That was just it. The Big Lebowski soundtrack, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Those are all, and T-Bone's all over that.
Yep. Fantastic. No, thank you for saying that. Okay. Anything else? Because we're trying to cram a whole lot of media into this show, because we're blending the love of music with the love of whiskey with the love of movies tonight. Yeah. So that's a lot of work. That's some heavy lifting we've done tonight, guys.
I deserve a shot then.
Yeah. Well, while you're doing that, let's talk about where everybody can be found on social media. Let's start with you, Mike.
Mostly I'd say the best place to find me is Monday nights on my Whiskey Den Live. I'm not a good Instagram person. I'm not a good Facebook person, but I'm there on Monday nights, damn it. And I like to interact with the people in the chat. So
yes, you do.
And I'll say YouTube on Monday nights is usually where the exciting chat happens.
That's
all the cool on Facebook and YouTube, but the exciting chat happens on YouTube.
All the cool kids are on YouTube.
I'll have to switch my viewing experience because I'm usually on the Facebook.
Yeah. All the cool kids are on YouTube. So, Drew, how about you, buddy?
Yep. I'm on Instagram at drew.crawley63 and Twitter at drewcrawley63. Instagram is just basically going to be all music and dog pictures, I think, from here on out. So follow along.
Speaking of music.
Yep.
Recently came out.
Yep. So that's out in the world. If you are interested at all in the music that I have out so far, I would love it. I would be honored if you would go and check that one out. It's been met with a lot of gracious reception so far, and I think we're going to start turning a corner in terms of quality of the music that's coming out. Really, really excited to go back to the studio very soon and keep working on this next record. So
there's some exciting things that you shared with me that you got coming up, and I'm kind of jazzed about it. So, hey, Bourbon Turntable, as I cannot say it better than Mike did, but I'll say it anyway. You can find us on YouTube every Wednesday, shows on YouTube. You can go back and watch past shows. Okay. We're on your favorite podcast platforms, as long as that is Apple, Spotify, or Google. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook, a little bit on Twitter. So you can always find a place to hear us talking about music and whiskey and movies. How about that?
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, Drew, what is our next show?
Yeah, so we're doing one of our favorite things. We're talking about new whiskey and new music. So we're going to bring some new pours and hopefully some new records and artists to everybody that we have found that we enjoy.
Yep. Hey, and guess what? We'll have Mike and Pat back for that show too. So you don't want to miss it. It'll be a lot of fun. So until next time, on behalf of Mike and Pat and Drew, cheers, love, and free bird.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Underrated whiskey of the year. Buy it while you can. Good night, everybody.
Good night.